You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by the National Association of Convenience Stores.
Welcome once again. My name is Jeff Lenard. I'm with the National Association of Convenience Stores, and I'm joined by my regular co-host.
Hi, I'm John Eichberger with the Fuels Institute and NACS, and this is the show where we talk about things that fuel your life, fuel your car, fuel your body, and today we're going to focus on the food that we put in our bodies to keep us going from point A to point B.
Specifically, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about fresh food. And our guest today, we're lucky to have Tom Stenzel, who is the president and CEO of United Fresh Produce Association. Thanks for joining us today.
Jeff, John, it's great to be with you.
And the cool thing is NACS and United Fresh have been working for going on 2 years now in trying to develop fresh convenience programs, because there's 154,000 convenience stores in the country. We see so many of them have customers who want more fresh items in stores, and your members are the leaders in those who provide both whole and cut fruit that can come into our channel and grow sales and bring in new customer bases. So I guess, can you just give us a lay of the land of what United Fresh does in terms of share ideas that can impact our stores?
Well, Jeff, you hit the nail on the head that there's a tremendous growth in fresh foods right now. Consumers are looking for snacking options, salads, meal solutions. And, you go back a few years, they were just thinking about grocery stores. But today, I think there's an explosion that's really taking place in the convenience store, where it's an easy access for shoppers. You stop, you want to get a snack. What a great place to have a fresh produce item.
And I think one of the things that when you look at convenience stores 10 years ago, if you said, yeah, you can go to the local store and you can get bananas, they literally would have said you're bananas. And now we have stores, Quick Trip, it's spelled with a K, misspelled with a K, I should say, Kwik, Trip, out of Wisconsin. They do about 400 pounds of bananas per store per day. Now, clearly that's very unusual, but it's also very unusual to go to a convenience store today and not see some level of fresh produce in the stores. And I think the key thing is, as we grow programs like this, you have one-store operators, then you have the advanced ones. We need to develop programs that work for them all.
Yeah, no question. If you look back at kind of the origin of what produce items first started appearing in convenience stores, it would have been bananas, apples, maybe oranges, and maybe just be limited to that. We in our industry, in the produce industry, say that's because they came in a ready-to-eat package. So the banana is, a perfectly ready-to-eat food. You just peel it and eat it. But as we've seen, our industry has created a whole new range of options with fresh cut fruit, with sliced apples, with a lot of different types of products that are now ready to eat. So we're way beyond the commodity produce business. We're not saying that convenience stores are going to look like a grocery store with a big produce department, but what a great place to have snacking and ready-to-eat options.
So when Jeff and I started talking to retailers about their fresh offer and their healthier option items that they're offering, a lot of the pushback we got was, John, I've been selling this stuff, but I throw most of it out. I cannot source it right. I cannot sell it right. What are we doing to help retailers figure out the best way to profitably sell fresh product?
Yeah, John, it's a challenge. There's no question. So when NACS and United Fresh got together a couple years ago to start working in this space, we thought we were going to have to convince people to try fresh. But we found that a lot of stores already want to try. Our big challenge is how do we help them be successful with it? So you got a couple things. You've got distribution challenges. We've got to make sure we're getting adequate deliveries so that they're always having fresh product in stock. For a store that maybe gets a once-a-week delivery, by the third or fourth or fifth day, shoppers aren't going to really want to pick up that piece of fruit or whatever it might be. So distribution is one, and then in-store merchandising. They've got to be able to maintain the cold chain. I was looking at a number the other day that if product is kept at 34 degrees, a fresh cut fruit, you might get a 12-day shelf life on it. But if it's kept at 70 degrees room temperature, you might get 12 hours. So it's just a big difference. And I think working together, our two groups can really help provide some education of the C-store operator.
I mean, Jeff, you and I have talked about this forever. Convenience retailers will sell anything if they can make money on it. And I think the key hook to this is if we can help them perfect their supply chain and their inventory management and their marketing strategies, they can make money on it. And one of the big things, and the thing we kept telling retailers a couple of years ago when they were pushing back on the whole concept, was there is a huge demographic out there that wants healthier, fresh product. And if you're not servicing them, you've lost a big chunk of your customer base.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal across multiple retail segments today. And I know C-stores are in a competitive environment. I mean, there are a lot of places where consumers can go to get a snack or buy food. But we are seeing from my side of the industry as a produce supplier, just huge growth. Millennials, women, they're looking for healthy snacks, but they're also looking for something that's fresh. It's not all about health. It's also about taste and quality and freshness. So the ability to deliver that in a C-store, really is a market opportunity.
Yep.
And I think you totally hit it on the head in talking about the issues that we can work together on. And one of them is distribution. NACS and United Fresh recently published a new primer looking at just the issues that retailers face. And if you're a large retailer like a Quick Trip that I mentioned earlier, you have self-distribution, you can do all this great stuff. The majority of convenience stores in our industry, and also taking into account the corner stores, are small operators. And what they do is something called cash and carry. They either work with a local wholesaler or they go to a club store or even a grocery store. They get product there because that's the way that they can affordably get it. Now, there are some significant negatives when you're looking at that method because you're not a distributor. You don't use the same practices that a distributor might in terms of how do you handle food. The other element is it's a double retail markup. You're buying from another retailer. So it's not really the most affordable in a lot of cases. But I think the biggest issue is if you're in a store for 2 or 3 hours, somebody else's store buying product, acting as a distributor, you're not acting as a retailer. So it makes it difficult to manage your business. How do you get the best employees? How do you do all those other things? So what we tried to do in this new document is try to just lay out some options that exist for retailers. How do you go to market? What do you think about some of the things that you think you know? Here's some other takes on it. It's not meant to be an end-all in terms of this is the path forward, but it's a great conversation starter that's just very much needed in our industry. So I was delighted to work on with United Fresh on this.
Well, it's one of the advantages of our two associations working together because we each bring an expertise, you in the store environment and us in the produce delivery and distribution side. I would break it out in a couple ways. For a single store operator who's never really done fresh foods, I think going to a Costco or a cash and carry place and sourcing a small amount of produce is probably a great way to start to have some experience in store. See what your shoppers in your particular area are choosing. Learn how to manage the cold chain within your single store. Before long, you probably are going to want to go to a different type of distribution environment. Even the mainline distributors now to the convenience store industry are adding more fresh. That's one of the things that we see is traditionally they've delivered more of the packaged foods, but they are all trying to incorporate more fresh foods. And then another avenue is the produce wholesaler. I think in any city, in America, you can look around and you would see produce delivery trucks delivering to restaurants. Well, they haven't really delivered a lot to C-stores, but I think that's another opportunity once you get to a certain level. Maybe not the single store operator, but if you've got 3 or 4 stores and you're buying sufficient amount, you can have a produce delivery come to your back door.
And I think John hit it on the head earlier when he talked about retailers who try something for a week or two, it doesn't work. So they say, hey, we tried, it didn't work. We lost money. We had to throw out produce. When you talk about the retailers who have tried and succeeded, they've said we lost money for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever that number is. One of the things that they all have in common that I've heard is a lot of store managers tie their compensation is tied to their how do they manage inventory. If there's a lot of spoilage, if they're throwing out product, their bonuses are tied to that. So what happens is you start treating fresh products as let's get as little in the store as we can. What fresh customers want is they want abundance. They want the opposite.
That's a mistake.
Yeah.
If people are really limiting choice, and even myself, if I walk in a store and I just see 5 apples and a couple bananas sitting there, I'm not motivated. I do want to see an array of fresh products. That's where the fresh cut fruits are so beautiful, to have cut watermelon or sliced apples and things like that. The question of profitability is important. I think stores need to realize that fresh food profitability is different from their experience in a lot of the other packaged items. It's usually a higher margin business, but it is a higher shrink. There's no question that in managing any kind of fresh operation, you're going to have to throw some away at the end of its useful life. But the margin makes up for that. And I think we've seen that in traditional grocery. That's an accepted thing, but for a lot of convenience stores, that's a new learning.
I think for a lot of convenience stores getting into this, it's important for them to understand the market potential, understand what market segments they may be attracting by offering a dynamic fresh offer. The other thing I think is it's a fundamental cultural shift within our industry. We are real big on selling buy one, get two, 2 for $1. I don't think the fresh customer is that customer. I think you mentioned quality, flavor, taste is so much more important than the health aspect. Sometimes the marketing of healthy is, it's going to taste like crap. But fresh is not the case. Yep. We're marketing wholesome, good-tasting product that has a higher margin, and that customer's not looking for the 2 for $1 deal. They're looking for quality.
Yeah, one of the things that you guys have taught me in my learnings about the C-store industry is just how much is consumed and eaten very quickly. Mm-hmm. It's either consumed right away or it's eaten within a few hours. Well, that's our customer in the fresh business. It's somebody who picks up a little pack of cut fruit or maybe a salad for lunch. So, there are going to be a lot of shopping moments when you're on your way to work, you stop by the convenience store, you pick up a packaged salad that you're going to put in your refrigerator at your office. Same thing, coming home. One of the things that we study is when consumers make eating decisions, and there are a heck of a lot of people who 5 o'clock every night don't know what they're having for dinner that night. So they're stopping on their way home from work. Where better to stop than in a convenience retailer?
And in a lot of those cases, when you're talking about millennials, first off, 28% of American households are a single person. A lot of those are millennials, and they don't have that traditional dinner hour. They're not going home at 5 o'clock, fixing dinner for an hour and a half, and then sitting by themselves. They're doing something. They're tending to eat later, and oftentimes that 4 and 5 o'clock is a snack. They'll grab a fruit cup. They'll grab something that will tide them over before they have their dinner, which could be a grab-and-go salad at 9 or 10 at night. And those are some big opportunities for our channel in looking at people don't have traditional dinner hours. The households are different now. And one of the things, Tom, that you hit on earlier is talking about the fresh cut. I think it's an enormous opportunity for our channel. And I'm talking about both kinds. You'll see the kind that comes in a bag. You'll also see the kind that comes in a cup. And the cup is associated with our industry. There are cup holders galore in cars. Yep. And you can't possibly put drinks in every one of them. People are using those as dinner plates. They're using those as snack plates. And you have carrot sticks. You have apple dippers. You have a variety of fruits and vegetables that transport very well on a morning and evening commute to tide you over until that meal.
Jeff, you're right. We're seeing a big explosion in the grab-and-go kinds of products. In fact, we are spending more time in our industry now on packaging than we ever have before. Sure, the fruit's got to be great, or the veggie, or broccoli florets, or whatever it is, but creating that in a convenient package that the consumer can just pick up and take with them in the car or wherever. That's a big part of our new product development.
Have you guys done any consumer research to kind of identify who the target audience really is and what the size and what their preferences are in terms of giving retailers some guidance as to if you really want to capitalize on the opportunity, here's a strategy that makes sense?
Yeah, John, I think most of the major research groups, Nielsen and Hartman and all of those folks, clearly identify millennials, that there's a change taking place in the way younger people shop and eat these days. So no question there. Women have been a target demographic for fresh produce for a long time. But again, not so much in the let's go buy a head of lettuce or let's go buy stalks of broccoli. It's still moving into a convenient snacking item. Number one trend in all the food industry is increased snacking more than meals. So what does that translate to a convenience retailer? Knowing your demographics, there are going to be some stores in certain areas that really don't attract that clientele, or they don't have a typical shopper base that includes millennials or women. Okay, that's fine. But if you do, or if you're in a neighborhood, or if you're in a geography where those people are passing your store, you want to do something that says, come in. And I think that's really what the fresh produce offer can do for stores today is don't stay out at the gas pump. Come in, and there are going to be an array of choices for you.
And I think that's a key point. You need to know what your market is. Yeah. And I think Jeff and I had a conversation on a previous podcast about a store in Texas that I went to, a little town called Uvalde. Not your up-and-coming, cutting-edge metropolis, right? But they were doing a phenomenal business on their fresh bar. Phenomenal. Selling out every single day. And I think it's because they didn't presuppose what the customers wanted. They actually took a look at the demographics, identified the trends and what the customers wanted, capitalized on it.
Yep, that's pretty cool. And if they can execute that, and that's a big part of it too, is if a store can execute like a fresh array or fresh bar well, they will attract sales. Mm-hmm. It may take some time, Jeff, as you said, that don't try it for 2 weeks and give up. You got to be in it for the long haul. You're changing perceptions here. You're providing choices that maybe the consumer is not used to in a given area. But boy, if you can stick with it and execute high quality, I almost guarantee you that it's going to be a big sales opportunity.
Execution's key. You have to have an attractive display. You have to have a variety of choices, and then you have to market it.
Yep.
You have to let your customers know it's there. Don't build it and hope they'll come. Get ready to build it. Let everybody know it's there.
Yeah, that's right. And have beautiful pictures of some fresh cut fruit and put it out by the gas pumps, so that they understand, it's inside. So there are different merchandising techniques that I know, Jeff, we're going to be working on together, how we can help the stores with the distribution challenge, the merchandising challenges, but the marketing challenge as well.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite pieces, and this is all because you work together. And when you work together, great ideas come out of that. Sometimes you don't even, somebody says something, it's like, I never thought of that. That's a great idea. And a perfect example is this document that NACS and United Fresh put together called Are You Fit for Fresh? 10 simple ideas that give you an indication of whether you are a good fit for fresh at a specific store or as a specific company. And it just came out of an, by the way, conversation. NACS and United Fresh. We meet at the United Fresh meeting. That's in June. We meet at the NACS show in October. We get together both our members and we also bring distributors there because they're key to this too. It may work for the produce guys. It may work for the retailers. But if it doesn't work for the folks who are the intermediary between
you're
us.
You're having a tough time today, brother.
Yeah, it's not going well. But
maybe you haven't had enough fruit today.
Apples, and we'll talk about that. But that's the key thing. It's working all together, coming up with these cool ideas. So if we'll put the Are You Fit for Fresh and some of the other things right next to this podcast if you want to click on them. Those are cool ideas. And at the NACS show last year, we pulled off this rare thing where we had a NACS United Fresh workshop, and we have lots of workshops. The average workshop at a NACS show is 200 people, which is phenomenal. That's a general session,
big.
at most conferences. The United Fresh NACS co-branded session had 450 people. It was a top 5 session in terms of audience. It was also a top 5 session in terms of ratings. And it's difficult to pull off high ratings with high attendance because the more people you get there, it was standing room only, it was sitting room only. It was amazing. So there definitely is a thirst, but a hunger for how to get more ideas out there and working together. I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, Jeff, I couldn't agree more. I do remember that workshop now that you mention it. I was amazed that people stood for the entire time. As they came in, sometimes people would look in a room and then they'll back out. They wanted to be there. They wanted that information. And I think that tells you something about your retail industry, that they are ready for this. The real key is what we can do together with some of those tools you've described. Are you fit for fresh? We had done another piece, building the case for fresh in convenience retail. All of those tools are really helping your members and our members do a better job. And as we can work together that way, that's what satisfies the consumer.
I think the workshop you referenced, Jeff, is evidence that the fresh offer is hitting the 2 primary objectives: margins, profitability, and increased customer acceptance. Can you tap into additional customer segments that aren't your traditional client? Can you get them into the store? If Fresh is giving that opportunity to increase your customer count and giving you higher margin items, I mean, why wouldn't you want to jump into it?
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and so if you're a retailer and you want to be involved with what we're doing with United Fresh, shoot us a note. We will put you to work. We value your opinion. We want your opinion. And Tom, we're going to have you again next time, and we can talk about some of the fun things with fruit. I didn't know bananas were berries. We can talk about apples, which I needed to have more of. They wake you up. I needed to be more woken up today. Tom, give us your website so people can learn more about United Fresh.
Sure. It's www.unitedfresh.org. So welcome, everybody. Come see what we have online. And it's been great being with you today.
Thanks, Tom.
We can talk about an awful lot of things. And the best topics are the topics that you want. So tell us about it. Go to nacsonline.com/podcasts. Find the information there shoot us a note, and we'd love to hear from you.
You've been listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. For more information about the National Association of Convenience Stores, go to nacsonline.com.